Live comments here.
Yeah, I need to get in live comments too. All
Okay.
right.
And so Justin, what's going on?
Mike, hey, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Doing good. Just doing. So been trying to shoot a little bit more and stay busy. And I've been really busy actually. But trying to shoot a little bit more. I've actually run out of memory. I have a bad habit of keeping the memory cards with everything on them for the most part. So I have a card on the way.
So you're out of memory on your memory card. So
Yeah,
well, we're already got some people kind of tuning in. We got Sandy Bruce saying hi, you too. Hi, Sandy.
Hey, Sandy.
Good to see you. We've also
John.
got John saying hi. Thanks, John. And then you
Hey,
got
John.
got Mike Tieford.
Hey, Mike.
Brad Walker. Yeah.
Hope everybody's doing okay tonight. So, guess we're going to have a little discussion on birding tonight.
Yeah,
that's best to talk about birding.
That's what we've decided is going to be the big thing. And just a recap on something that we talked about, because like we're going to cover tonight, we're going to cover birds in flight and getting started with birds in flight tips and tricks, and then we're going to open it up to open Q&A. So you guys kind of know the drill. If you have any questions, just kind of chime in. We'll share them on the screen as we were talking about things.
Yep.
The first thing I'll start off with. Last week we talked about the TG6, and I said that the price was $379, and that was like the best price. Well, that was the best price up until this month, and this month the TG6 is $349. So if anyone is interested in picking up a TG6 and being able to do some cool macro stuff, we already had someone pick up one from our last video this week, and I've got a black one and a red one at the store, and I ordered another red one today. So just so you know, Mike, I put an order in, and I'm looking for an EM13 too.
That's all right. We'll get it to you.
Yeah. So we'll get started.
It's a great camera.
We'll get started with kind of birds in flight. So TG6, we followed up with that. So what I've noticed, Mike, is that a lot of people, by the way, Richard Kefkin says,
hey,
hello, photography addicts. Good day, Richard. So birds in flight is not really my cup of tea, Mike. I mean, I've a lot of West Michigan photographers are really big. I know it's a big vertical for Olympus.
Yeah.
And they're really kind of gearing their cameras and their lenses towards doing birding and wildlife photography. What can you kind of tell us about what Olympus is doing? What products are going to be kind of the go-tos for birding and wildlife photography for those who are tuning in today?
Well, I mean, one of our strengths with 4/3 in general, that format is to have that reach, right, and be more compact. When you combine that with the fact that over the years, the processors have gotten so much better and so much faster and more powerful. The system was always sort of, played off as compact and powerful, but now it's finally, I believe, come into its own where it really is compact and powerful. And so the birding segment is just almost perfect for this format because you have that smaller body, you have that reach, you have the speed and the power, but you also have the weather resistance. So stabilizer, I mean, everything that we have just kind of falls into place for birding. And that's why I think we finally, reached that sort of pinnacle of this is where we should be. I mean, so it's a great format for birding. Now, as far as the product, and I have a PowerPoint, you guys, but I'm not going to bore you with the whole PowerPoint, but we'll probably touch on some of it. And so I'll skip through some of the slides that have what I'm talking about now. But, for us, the EM1 series, obviously, the EM12, EM13, EM1X, those are your professional cameras in our line. They have the focusing that's just unreal. And excuse me. And they are the products, I would say, as far as bodies, that really are going to give you what you need for the speed, for the sequential shooting modes and things of that nature. Now the EM5, which is our mid-grade, the EM5 III, compact, great for travel, will also be a great camera for birding. It has the same sensor, the same processor as the EM12. It's like an EM12 mini.
Mm-hmm.
You won't have the battery power, for all day. You won't have the ability to put a giant grip on it with an extra battery pack, but it will definitely suffice for doing some birding, a little bit of everything. So, and it doesn't mean you can't use the entry level models as well, or the other models. You just have to really know your camera, really know the limitations and the strengths, and then work with it. So really I would say the new EM5 and then up.
So EM5.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great compact camera, travel, but.
And then the EM1.
EM1, which is really going to be, you're out all day. The battery's going to last a little bit longer. You could put a grip on. Now, it also balances better, obviously, with the big lenses, the EM1 series.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as the Olympus lenses, my go-to is the 300 millimeter f4 Pro. Again, you can use a 75 to 300. That's a great lens. And with the EM5 or EM1, great lens as far as balance. The 40 to 150 2.8 Pro, that's a great lens. Those two lenses, the 300 and the 40 to 150, allow you to use the two teleconverters. So now you have
the MC14 and the MC20.
MC20, right? Yeah. So now you have a 2 times MC20 and a 1.4 times with the MC14. And that gives you a lot of reach. I mean, the 40 to 150 is internal zoom. So you get a lot of reach with that 2 times converter. It becomes an equivalent focal length of 160 to 600, which is at a 5.6.
Which is better than, which is equal to or greater than a lot of what's on the market right now. Nikon has a 200 to 500 5.6, but this allows you to get a little bit wider at 160, and it allows you to get 100 millimeters closer at 600 at 5.6, while maintaining a smaller footprint that's even still half the size of that particular lens. So
yeah, and it's a trade-off. I mean, with the Nikon, and you throw that on a Z series, so you're going to have your cropping ability, right? So, but you have a bigger system, so it's always a trade-off, right, on the systems. But that's where the Olympus shines, is having that smaller footprint, having that power and that reach, and so those are sort of what I recommend. Now, the 40 to 150, the plastic fantastic, they call it. The little $100 or $200 lens that we always run on special for $100. That's a great little lens that'll get you out to 300. And with your 2 times teleconverter in your camera, if you're shooting JPEG, it'll get you out even further. So it's not to say you can't shoot in good light with that lens. But if you're going to get serious about it, the Pro gear is unbeatable. And part of that is to remember that, your camera is made up to have the best image quality you can get in any system. It's really going to be 3 main things, which is your processor, your sensor, and your lens, right? When you combine a good lens, a good processor, and a good sensor, you're going to get a good image quality. At Olympus, we also throw in the image stabilization, because we say those 4 things are what's going to net you a good image. So, and of course your photography skills. But
yeah, you're the person always shooting is always going to be the best factor in all of those. I mean, it's one thing to get the right camera to start of what you want to shoot and where you're what you want to do with it, and then the lenses to complement that camera, which in this case, on a day like today, it's bright and sunny here in West Michigan. We've got clear skies, so it's we always talk about quality of light when we're shooting, when we're capturing images. And it's not to say that overcast days are bad. It's just to really kind of put an emphasis on, a lot of people I've seen with birding photographs come in, they've kind of said like, well, why is my image soft? And when you really think about it, it's like, well, hey, was it a gray overcast day? And because like when I'm looking at this image, because I ask people to show me their images, it's like, well, it looks like it's an overcast day. Well, cameras are going to struggle to focus on those trickier lighting condition days.
Right.
So what you're talking about is the fantastic plastic is that $100 lens when it's on sale, number 200, the 40 to 150, 4.5 to 5.6, or
it's
4 to 5.6, 4 to 5.6,
4 to 5.6, I believe. Yep. Yeah.
Now, on a day like today with the bright sunshine, and you've got the highest quality of light, you're going to get some really sharp photos. The same can be said with the 75 to 300, which is an equivalent to 150 to 600. It's not weather sealed. These two lenses are not weather sealed. But on a bright sunny day like today, they do really well because the quality of light is where you need it to be. And what you're recommending, if I'm hearing you correctly, Mike, is that it's you should try to strive for those pro lenses. Because what sets those pro lenses outside of the weather sealing? What sets those pro lenses apart from like the 40 to 150 standard and the 75 to 300?
Yeah, if you're serious about it, you're stepping up to the next level of your photography. I mean, the pro lenses are going to give you a different build quality. That's one. They're going to have the metal bodies. They're going to have the elements are going to be, you're talking about a whole different set of elements in those lenses, but your coatings are going to be a lot better too. You have your pro coatings, so less flare, less aberration.
Chromatic aberration, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be getting the whole package with that. So you also have on the pro lenses, most of them, you have the push-pull mechanism for your manual focus.
I can show
with
that
your distance scale. Yeah,
yep.
Which works really well. I have that too.
That's this right here. So you can see that's autofocus, and when you click it back, and you see those numbers right there, that's manual focus. So right now I can toggle if my camera were on, I would be manually focusing, but if I put it back, it's an autofocus, and no matter if I turn this or not, it's not going to affect the focus of my photo because it's defaulting to the automatic in the camera.
And there's some cool things with that too. Like for instance, most of your pro lenses, except for your 8mm fisheye and 8mm fisheye and your new 12 to 45 don't have the LFN button. And the LFN button is another function button. It's lens function. So it actually comes in pretty handy on some of the lenses. The 40 to 150, it's right there where your thumb is. So if you want to, you can put things like maybe your 2x teleconverter. You can set it for that button. So
the digital 2x teleconverter, right?
Digital 2x, yeah.
Okay.
So even though that button, a lot of people look at it and go, "What is that? Does that make any sense?" It could be a fun button to play with for that, or even your focus. Like people do back button focus, which I don't do.
Or focus peaking. Can you program it to be focus peaking?
Focus peaking on and off. Anything that you put on your other function buttons can be put on that button. So, it's something you can utilize. I don't personally, but for instance, I have a guy that shoots pro basketball in Indianapolis. He learned about the 2x teleconverter. He only shoots JPEG because he doesn't need RAW for what he does.
And we are talking about the digital 2x teleconverter, yes?
Yeah, yeah. The digital 2x teleconverter works for him on the button. So, yeah, if you guys don't know what that is, your cameras have a 2x teleconverter built in that's a digital teleconverter. So it's just like cropping after in a software. It's debatable if it's better or not to crop or use that. I think it's debatable. I think it's using the camera software is probably a tad better.
Yeah, but, I would say that your processors are so good in the cameras nowadays that when you're doing these things in the camera can measure the weak pixels, where I don't think Photoshop is using AI to kind of calculate things to kind of change the pixels. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Where if depending what software program you're using, but I think using the processors and doing it in camera gives you a better image. I've always been happy with the results out of doing the digital teleconverter while I'm using it in camera, because again, going back to the processing power that the Olympus cameras has to offer. So. Yeah,
I agree. So I think that's some of the products I would say work for birding. Now we're going to have the new 150 to 400 this year.
Yeah, is there any news on that? I know there's a lot of people itching about that. Mike.
I am itching too. I know there's no new news, but it will come. It will come.
If you build it, I mean, do we do a Field of Dreams kind of thing? Like if we all go somewhere and click our heels 3 times, does it help anything along?
I'll tell you what, I've been shooting birds for about, 3 years, maybe close to 4, because the 300 came out 4 years ago, believe it or not. But it's been about 2 years that I've gotten really into it. And, I'm lucky because where I live, there's some beaver marsh and things like that where I have heron, and they pose for me. So everybody says, "Oh, your bird photography is looking good." They pose for me. So here I've been playing with birds in flight, which is what we're going to touch on today. It's impossible. I mean, it's so different of a type of shooting with birds. I mean, it's so cool to see. I can't believe I'm into birds so much, but it's so neat to see them and watch them and see the habits and kind of learn. And here, there's been these birds that I'm not used to seeing, so I'm learning what they are and what they do,
Hmm.
and they're brutal down here. I can tell you that much. But I've been learning, and it's definitely difficult. So if you're getting shots that are out of focus, I am too. If you're getting shots that are just you're like, oh, I almost had that. It's a very difficult thing, and a lot of guys that do this professionally, they sit in blinds. They follow these birds around. A lot of us are, shooting birds Tuesday, and then Wednesday we're heading over to the lighthouse and grabbing waves,
Hmm.
crashing on the shore. And the next day we're shooting a landscape somewhere. And then, so we're shooting so much as hobbyists and
We're
semi-pro
divesting our
or whatever.
interests a little bit more
Yeah,
than,
yeah.
yes,
Whereas
we're
somebody
not
who,
not focused and concentrating on
yes,
one type of photography.
yeah, you can look at some of these guys, like for instance Scott Bourne, is one of our visionaries, and he's amazing, and that's what he does. I mean, this is his living. So
It's his craft 100% that he's just
yeah,
focusing
so
on.
he's a mentor. He's somebody to look up to, and really shines in this. So Brad says birds in flight can be
Yes.
hard but look awesome. They really do, Brad. And I'm finding that zoom, you can never have enough zoom. It's just amazing with birds.
And
So
we talked about like the 40 to 150 for those of you who are tuning in who aren't Olympus shooters. The 40 to
yeah.
150 is equivalent to an 80 to 300 with the
Mhm.
1.4 teleconverter. It's like a 100 to 420,
Yeah, yeah.
and then the 2x teleconverter is a 160 to 600.
600, which is really nice.
Yep, at 5.6.
Mhm.
Now, the 300 is
Yeah,
equivalent to a 600 millimeter f4, and with the
right.
teleconverter, you're getting out to
840.
840 at
Mhm.
f4. No, at
Right. No,
f5.6.
at 5.6, right.
Yep, and
And
then
then
with the
f8,
2x teleconverter at f8 at
right.
1200 millimeters.
1200 millimeters.
Yes,
So,
and
and
that's not
it's
including the digital teleconverter that's built into the camera to multiply it
which should give
another
you
two times.
24. And I can tell you, I've been shooting the 2X a little bit the last couple of days on the 300. It's tough.
Mhm.
You're out there. You're fixed. You're not a zoom. You're a fixed focal length at 1200 millimeters, and I'm hand holding it. And so I'm actually shooting it in shutter priority at minimum for me, like a thousandth of a second, because I'm afraid, because I drink coffee, I shake, and I'm afraid that if I shoot too slow, it'll be out of focus because you're you have such a long range. You have to remember that you're shooting such a long range.
And to
Jason,
add, oh
I'm
yeah, go
sorry.
ahead. Go
I
ahead.
was going to say, Jason Helmer. Hey, Jay. Jason says American white pelicans are back along with other non-native birds. Those are cool birds, man. They had those over in Indiana too. It's those are neat. If you could shoot those, that's awesome. Really awesome. They're amazing.
Now, just to add to like what you were saying about the shutter speed when you're shooting in shutter priority, um, I'd like to ask like what ISO you're kind of typically shooting at, but I can just tell people that when you're shooting at 1200 millimeters, like okay, you've got the 300 millimeter lens mounted on your camera with the 2x
Hmm.
teleconverter, or even if you're using the digital 2x teleconverter, and you're at 1200 millimeters, you want to shoot at a shutter speed that's equal to or greater than your focal length. So when you're shooting at an equivalent of 1200 millimeters, even though the lens is smaller and you got the image stabilization inside the camera, you
Right.
typically want to shoot a shutter speed faster than your focal length. So like 1/2000th of a second or 1/4000th of a second to really freeze your action. But what to kind of get into the tips and tricks of this,
Sure.
what are some of the shooting settings that you find yourself, or what most Olympus shooters are doing, are setting their cameras to get their shots?
So I've been personally experimenting because I was shooting a lot of aperture priority. Um, it's all over the place, to be honest. A lot of guys will shoot manual. Some will shoot aperture priority. Some will shoot shutter. For birds in flight, I'm typically shutter because I want to be really fast, but it
Mhm.
depends on what you want to do. So here's where I'm at. No, all the time. Auto ISO. I've been using auto ISO. I let it go from 200, up to 6400, and just let it fly. I'm not as worried about noise.
But you can change that in the camera, right? Like
you can change it in the camera.
Your ISO limit. So your auto ISO could be set anywhere between 200 and 800 if you really wanted it to.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the noise as much as I'm worried about getting the image. And typically I'm shooting during the day anyway. So auto ISO, and then what I'll do is spot meter. And I'm doing that to make sure I'm metering on the bird. So those are constant. I make sure my face detection is off. So if you go into your super control panel on the Olympus, and you can picture all these little settings. Now I toggle back and forth between continuous autofocus tracking.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Autofocus. Yep. Yeah, I kind of go between the three. It depends on what I'm doing, but I do have peaking on. So when I'm continuously autofocusing or single, if I want to, I could turn my focus ring and I can get that red peaking highlight. So I leave that on, and then my focus points jump all over. A lot of times I'm single, but I have been experimenting more with the other points, the diamond, the 9, the 25, and the 121. It just depends. Now for me, I find that the 121 point or the 25 point with tracking is great for birds in flight. They're in the sky. There's really nothing to get in the way. There's no trees. They're not in a marsh. It's just birds flying. Perfect. You can track them. If you lose it, you can come off the shutter back on, and it tracks really well. But if you got birds in grass or birds flying in bushes or what have you, that's where I go into continuous autofocus, so that I have them constantly focusing on them, pinpointing a little bit more. And that's where I'll go into like a single point or maybe like a diamond. So
try to narrow your field of focus with the camera. And real quick, I just wanted to kind of say this. Susan Christner says hi to both of us.
Hey, Sue, and Mike Dixon as well. Hey, Mike.
Yep, Mike says hello as well. And for those of you who are tuning in, Mike and I do this every Wednesday just to kind of give you guys the opportunity to learn something new about photography, learn a little bit about Olympus, and also throw out your questions. And I know a lot of you guys are already shooting birds, so if you have any kind of tips or anything that you want to share with others who are tuning in, we're always happy to share those on the screen, just like we have the last couple comments. So this is just as much for you guys as to interact with each other as it is for us to interact with you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm learning every day. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So experiment is my best, my best advice, because the situations change so much. Now, what I do, Justin, though, that I will say I haven't done with the Olympus till the past couple of years with birds, is now I am using more of my custom functions and some of my function buttons, because let's say birds in flight, I'll set like custom 1 for birds in flight. I'll set custom 2 for pro capture. That's another mode that I've used. And so that way, if I'm shooting and I'm shooting birds or what have you, and all of a sudden there's some action going on, I might flip it to custom 1. There's my settings, and I can kind of change from there. And those settings are, for me, 2500th of a second. I'm in shutter priority. I'm in auto ISO, spot metering. And again, 2500th of a second is you're stopping the wings pretty much, or you're starting to stop the wings. You might want to shoot at 1250, and get some movement.
A little bit of motion, to kind of illustrate the motion. That's the thing with shutter speed, is that shutter speed allows you to see motion through time, and you can either freeze it so that time is infinite. It's like that frozen moment, right? Or you can like if you've got a pinwheel in the wind and you want it to kind of look like it's moving, or that the wind is blowing it, you'd drag the shutter. They call it dragging the shutter a little bit so that you can get some of that movement. So you got to kind of pick and choose to whether or not you're going to freeze it, or whether or not you're going to elude to the bird flying and having that motion of flight through the air.
Yeah, like I saw a great shot as an example the other day on Facebook. Somebody shared it. I believe it was like a lion taking down like an antelope or something. It was really cool. And it was, I think they shot it with the 1DX, the new one, with like a big 400 or whatever. I mean, it was a cool shot. It was just coming over the top, and and it was perfectly in focus. It was awesome. And the antelope or whatever looked like it was smiling almost. It's kind of like that circle of life. I mean, a really cool shot, Yeah. And I saw that. And then yesterday I'm on, and Jay Dickman one of our visionaries that shoots for Nat Geo, puts up a picture, and it's I want to say it was a cheetah maybe, and he posted it, and it was totally the opposite. Like this thing has got motion. He shot it at like a 30th of a second, and it's almost all out of focus except for some of the spots, and it's really cool. And I'm like, that's what's so great about photography is like, here's an image that they both grab me, and they both do two different things.
Yeah,
and
they're
one's
both
like pretty
illustrating
much
two
out of
different
focus
things.
on purpose, yeah, and one's perfectly in. And that's the beauty is that, sometimes you want that motion, you want to see that speed, and same thing when you're panning with bikes or things like that. So pretty cool.
Now, Mike Tieford, he said that he sounds like he's using some of the similar settings that you're using. He says that's what I've done too, Mike. And then Jason kind of chimed in and said, when I'm out birding, I use shutter priority, auto ISO, and shutter speed between 1600 to 2600.
Yeah, that's about where I'm at. And it's funny, Jay, because a lot of guys have been using aperture priority as well. But I think, that's obviously when the birds are more kind of hanging out, right? They're perching a little bit or what have you. So, but yeah, for some action, I've been finding that shutter priority works for me. I learned on an aperture priority camera. So for me, manual's fine, and I use it sometimes. But with the birds, I find I let the camera do it. I'm either aperture or shutter priority for the most part. So just the way I shoot. But yeah, so.
And with all this being said, Mike, you had a PowerPoint, right, that you mentioned earlier that you were going to go through.
Yeah, it's got some great pieces on it, kind of what we already talked about, but also some settings and stuff. So gives you a visual.
Yeah, because I can pull that up right now if you wanted to open that up.
Yeah. Now we got to do like a little workaround here, you guys. So I'm not going to be able to see myself. So we're going to see what we can do here. But let me see if you can see that, Justin.
Yep. I'll add it to the screen here. Yep, it's full screen. So you can go through and.
So we're going to skip through some of the beginning of this. I'll go right through some of the slides only because we've already talked about it. So some of these tips.
I'll go completely full screen here for everyone to see.
Yeah. Now this is what we talked about what Olympus offers, and obviously it's compact and powerful. We talked about the bodies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about some of the lenses.
And everyone's waiting for that coveted 150 to 400. Yeah, let that sit there just for a minute, Mike, so everyone can lust over that.
Take it in.
So is it going to be white? Have they decided that's going to be white for like heat dispersion or something?
I honestly don't know. Justin, it's the whole thing is
it's
I
mystery.
know as much as you guys. Yeah, I mean, I would like them to keep it white. I mean, obviously the white is because you see the Canon lenses that are white, and that's because it keeps the heat off the lens when you're outside.
And most people don't realize that it's like a heat dispersion thing.
Yeah, so it's a smart thing. So it'd be nice to see that. But we'll see.
And was there another like lens kind of rumored? Like there's the roadmap. There was the 150 to 400. Is there something else that's like on that roadmap that's kind of like a telephoto lens? Or
yeah, I don't have the roadmap up, but it was it a 100 to
like it looks like it could be like 400? A 100 to 400 maybe.
Yeah.
And we don't know if it's going to be a premium lens, if it's a replacement for the 75 to.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's another mystery lens, and I obviously can't talk about because I don't know anything about, and I can't anyway. But something's on the roadmap there around that range, and it looks like it. I don't know. I mean, I could speculate, but I can't.
Yeah, it's all speculation at this point, and that's why Mike T said, "How deep pocket will you need to get that lens?" And that's kind of the thing. Is like nobody really knows.
Nobody knows.
You and I have speculated, on this for a while. I think it could be. It's easily going to be over, $299.99. I just don't know how far over that it's going to be. But hey, it'll be interesting. I don't think it's going to be near as expensive as like the Canon version of that lens, like something that's equivalent. But
for us, it's a game changer for 4/3. So it's it's going to be a nice lens. I mean, definitely going to be nice for sports and wildlife. So yeah, it'll be cool.
Yeah. So let's continue along. Like some of the other points. Those are the lenses
we talked
that you
about
recommended.
The 5.3.
The body.
We talked about the 5.3 as far as having an entry level or mid-range option.
Mm-hmm.
And here's a cool thing, you guys. So the dot sight.
Oh yeah, yeah. Tell us about this, because this is something that we could order as a special order item, and you could use it on any camera other than the Olympus. But tell us about
it's
this,
cold
Mike.
shoe. So the dot sight is pretty cool. It's the Eagle Eye One EE1. It's about $129.99 retail. It's dust proof and splash proof. It's kind of like a laser sight on a gun, right?
It's like a red dot
this
sight.
works on, and it works on any camera. So it could be any brand, any camera, as long as you have a hot shoe that is lined up with your lens. So any camera. And basically what you do, the key to this, Justin, and I haven't personally used it yet. A lot of guys use it. I wish I had it with me down here, but I don't. What you want to do with the dot sight that's key is it has a couple of dials on it. And you want to dial in the red laser with your lens. And I believe that every time you change lenses, you're probably going to have to do that. So
to readjust,
I would use it with the 300 because it's such a long lens.
It's hard to keep track. It's hard to track in the lens when you're at an extreme telephoto focal length to kind of see that. But
when a bird is farther away and you want to capture it, especially if it's moving, like you have an eagle nesting and it takes off, and you're trying to keep it in your viewfinder with a long lens, you lose it. So what this does is allows you to use the camera, use the sight similar to a gun, where you hold it out in front of you and it's a red laser and you just hold it out in front of you. The key, like I said, you set up an object, maybe put the camera on a tripod. You look at the center of your viewfinder, or your center of your LCD, I should say, on the back of the camera. Line that up with that subject in the center. And then you turn the dials on the dot sight and line up that laser to where that subject is in the center and that laser's right on it. So that way when you shoot, wherever that laser is, it's the center of your LCD in the back. So you're going to capture that bird.
And just be mindful, everyone, because I've used a red dot sight before, and this is no different than a standard red dot sight on a shooting rifle or a gun.
Right.
You're just using it for your camera. So you're essentially, if you've lined up a gun sight with a red dot sight, it's the same principle. So pretty easy to do. But what it allows you to do, instead of looking through the viewfinder or through the back of your LCD to find the bird, you can look down the sight line of this red dot sight and be able to just putting the crosshair on the bird, and you're able to kind of shoot away that way, and that'll increase your chances of seeing a bird, instead of try to frame it up in the viewfinder.
Yeah, it's a great assist, for shooting birds. So it's a nice thing to have in your bag, for sure.
Yep, and Mike Dixon's just saying it's like, hey, it's not a laser, it's a reflection of an LED. Yep, it's a red dot sight. Yep.
Yeah.
And then
we're not gonna laser them out.
Yeah. John Thomas had a question real quick. He says, I struggle with the focus on birds in flight, EM1 Mark II, using a continuous autofocus plus tracking on a 5x5 block. Seems to lose focus a lot. Other settings are auto ISO 1/2000th of a second at 5.6 using the 40 to 150 plus the MC14 or MC20. I could throw something in there, Mike. I don't know if you, what I might suggest. I might suggest, John, is the autofocus algorithms, make sure your firmware is up to date on the EM1 Mark II. That's going to help things to start. The other thing you can do is change the sensitivity of your tracking in the deep menus and the customized menus.
It's actually for just continuous autofocus.
For not for the tracking, but that will help you being able to adjust the continuous tracking, right? I mean, for continuous autofocus.
I would do continuous autofocus, John. Go try continuous, and go into your sensitivity settings. It's A1 in the gear menu, and you have those +2, -2 settings. -2 is like when subjects pass in front, and +2 is when it's like erratic. Something's flying at you, flying away from you, kind of thing. I would play with that a little bit, but the tracking should work pretty well. What I'm finding is that with the tracking, I like to use the minimum, like the 25 point, or in the EM1 II would be the 121, like the whole thing. I'm finding that's easier for me because I'm panning with them, but they're so fast that I'm finding that I lose them in the 5 point or a single point. So I keep it with all 121 points lit up. But again, it's in certain situations where there's not much in the foreground that's going to compete with that tracking. So
I think the other thing too is also remember what kind of day it is. Like you've got this shot in the PowerPoint here of the bird against the gray sky in the background, and when it's an
right.
overcast day like that, it just makes it a little harder to focus. Like on a gray day, you may have out of focus shots, and hasn't Scott Bourne even said that, talked about out of focus shots with his doing birding in flight.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, you got to remember too, like it's like shooting the moon. Last night I shot the moon, or the night before, and it was crystal clear outside. And then the other night it was all hazy in front of it. And you could see where the moon had a little bit of haze. There's also that atmosphere, like we talked about. I mean, I was in Muskegon once, Pere Marquette, and there was a beautiful snowy owl, by the water. And I was pretty far away, and I pulled over and I grabbed my, a 300 millimeter and everything, thinking I'm going to get this thing. And it wasn't even in focus. There was just so much. There was water. There was atmosphere. There was all kinds of stuff going on between me and the bird. I mean, he was far. And that's where I really learned that anything in between you and the bird can definitely get in the way too of the focus. But I would say just keep at it with that, with the focusing, keep trying with it. Like Justin said, definitely make sure everything's updated, which I'm sure your stuff probably really is, John. But keep up with it. Also try it without the 2X, just to make sure, kind of, check your equipment a little bit, make sure that maybe the 2X doesn't have any issues, that it's a good copy, everything's okay. We take it off, shoot without it a little bit, put it back on, shoot with it, make sure everything's in focus, and kind of go from there too.
And then we can jump back into some of
the birding tips. And again, this is kind of long, you guys, so I'm going to jump through it a lot. But again, to completely freeze, we talked about this. You're looking at about 1/2500th of a second or faster.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to express motion, like we said, like 1250. This is a Scott Bourne image right here. The ISO sensitivity, we talked about this. Sunny days, 200 to 400.
Yep.
Don't be afraid to shoot higher ISO to stop movement and to, get the shot basically with birds. Like I said, I leave it on auto ISO. I go up to 6400 with the auto ISO. Go ahead.
You mentioned best advice too, like one of the best things outside of like doing this a lot. The other thing I would encourage people to do is, with these settings and shooting birds and things of that nature, don't be afraid to fail. It's okay.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay to fail. It's okay not to get the shot right away. This is something that takes time. You can't just expect to get a camera and a lens, go out and just do it. There's people who can do that, but don't be afraid of your results. And I remember George Lamborn, one of my favorite customers. He was kind of frustrated at one point with shooting and photography, and then I said, hey, just keep on plugging away, and at some point you'll have that aha moment. And sure enough, he went on this trip out west, had that aha moment, and it was just from there on out, he was good. Yeah,
he was great. He was a great guy, man.
Anyways,
and that's good. That's exactly it, Justin. I mean, there's this bird here as an example. It's a swallow-tailed kite. It's the coolest looking bird. It's a raptor, and it's got this split tail. It's really neat. I think I have an image of it on here. I'll show you. And the image I'll show you came out pretty good. It grabbed like a little possum or something out of a tree. I shot it. I was on the phone with somebody. I'm shooting it. So I don't even have the camera up all the way, and I shot this thing. And I got some cool shots, and I looked at it. I'm like, this is the coolest bird, man. What is it? And I looked it up. Almost every day, this bird comes around at a certain time, twice a day.
To torment you.
I haven't gotten the shot again like that. It was like, and now I know what it is, and I want to shoot it, and I cannot get this bird to come in. I can't get it to grab anything. I can't. And that one day I just happened to get lucky and like just pull up the thing. Oh, look at that bird. He just grabbed something, and I'm shooting, and I got these shots.
Yeah.
And it's the coolest thing. And so it's frustrating sometimes, and it's like sometimes you're just not even looking for it. But as you learn the birds, you learn their habits and stuff.
Their behavior.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know their behaviors yet. I don't know what they are. Some of them. There's some owls that have been coming here each night, or they were, and now they're not coming. So it's weird trying to figure out, their habitat. But a lot of guys, I'll throw in Scott again. He's an ornithologist, so this is something he went to school for. It's something that he knows, and so learn from some of these guys too. If you ever go out and see one of the guys from American Birding Association or any of these nature guides, these guys are so knowledgeable, and you really pick up a lot. And it's something that it's kind of like us with cameras, right? I mean, these guys really know these birds, and so it's great to kind of pick their brain. They love to talk about it, and you really learn about these things. So this is an example of the shutter speed being at 1/10 of a second at ISO 3200 with the image stabilization system. So don't forget too, we talk about having that shutter speed to cover that focal length. But if you have a subject that's not flying, that's not having that motion, you can take that shutter speed down as well. So exposure compensation, something I want to mention on this, a lot of guys now are doing a lot of exposing to the right on the 4/3 system.
Which means
and the reason, so they're taking their histogram and they're taking their exposure compensation and they're pushing it to the highlight section, right? They're pushing it right to the edge, and then you back down a little bit. You're overexposing it a little bit, but not enough where they're clipping. And the reason for that is with the raw file, and you edit after, in your editing, they're able to bring those highlights back, and your shadows obviously, go darker, and that's where your noise is. So they're getting at a higher ISO, they're getting an image with less noise, and that's one way that they're getting around that. So that's something to maybe play with as well in certain situations. I have not yet, so let's see. So I'm going to skip through some of this, you guys.
Yep.
Exposure comp.
Get to the nit and gritty, the good stuff.
Nitty gritty. So this is some of the stuff you can use, obviously, like a gimbal, a video head. What I want to get into is.
Well, go back to the gimbal real quick, Mike, because I just want to kind of talk about that. So the gimbal is the thing that's pictured on the left, and that's the kind of weird, kind of J-shaped tripod head. A ball head is good, but a gimbal head, what that's going to do for you is you can mount the lens on the tripod collar to that, and that allows you to kind of swing and turn the lens freely from the base on a tripod. It's really good for birding. We've got those at the store. So if you're kind of struggling and you want a solid base and kind of work with panning and just having a nice little setup with the right head, we've got those available. So just wanted to
those are really cool, man.
Those are prime time for birding.
Yeah, I mean, those are amazing. And the ProMaster version that you guys have is
the carbon fiber. It's really nice.
It's a really nice piece, and it's actually reasonably priced.
Oh yeah, it's normally $349 is what we've got, and if you do like a tripod bundle, we try to kind of put a little price thing together for everyone.
This is just a cool graphic. One of the things I have noticed at some of the birding festivals and things of that nature is the tripods. And of course, tripods are great, but that's one of the things where we shine again with that stabilizer having a smaller setup. Hopefully,
so you don't have to carry it with you, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
You don't have to carry a tripod with you, is what you're saying.
You don't.
It helps. It's always good to have
but you don't
have the right equipment.
All right, so this is where I wanted to really get. This kind of gives you some recommended settings for birds. So here's recommended settings for flying birds. So it kind of shows you that super control panel and some of the recommended settings. So these are kind of cool slides, Justin. This is showing the 9 box on your focus points, continuous autofocus, 12/50th of a second. And it's actually showing aperture priority. Again, if I'm shooting birds in flight, I've been playing a little bit, but I'm usually in shutter only because I want to make sure I'm in control of my shutter speed. So,
real quick, Mike, in the bottom center of your screen, there's a little thing that says hide. Can you click that?
Yeah, it's that showing the
message box is popping up.
I can't. Hold on one second. Let me get out of my presentation. Oh no, I can't.
Oh well, just go back into it and we'll pick up where we left off. I'm sorry. You guys got to see the infinity
the infinity screen. Yes. Oh wait, it's totally gone now. Wait, hold on.
Yeah, you just need to reopen it real quick. I'm sorry. I thought I was helping you, and here I am. I'm just making things worse for everyone.
You made it worse. Now we can't see anything. There we go.
Here we go. There we are.
Yeah, okay. I can't hide that.
No, that's all right.
It's okay. It's just covering a little bit of the 10 frames per second mechanical shutter, and that's something else that I shoot in mostly. So for the drive mode, I'm shooting mostly continuous or sequential low. That's giving me 10 frames a second, and it's mechanical shutter. To me, it's fast enough. Now, I also shoot a little bit. I've been playing with the silent shutter low. That's giving me 18 frames a second, and that's kind of cool. Like when that owl was getting attacked. I don't know if you guys saw that image, and I have some of them I could show you after. But the owl getting attacked by a loggerhorn shrike, that was actually in continuous low, silent, so it was 18 frames a second. It's a lot faster. You fill up your card faster. But also with Pro Capture, that's kind of a cool function we could talk about after. So let me just go through some of these because we're kind of running out of time, Justin. But some different recommended settings. Here's your 2500th of a second. This is where they're talking about, again, that silent mode with the 18 frames per second. So when you're looking at really fast motion, that silent mode, those 18 frames a second are super fast. Now, the reason I'm not using high is because Pro Capture high, sequential high, mechanical shutter high, silent high, any of the high modes, you're only going to have your focus once. It's single autofocus, and then that's it. You're locked in. And that's okay if something is on the same plane of focus as it's moving. But with your low, you're actually able to continuously autofocus. You know, every frame is focused. So I think your capture rate would be a lot better with that. So sudden motion, this is where we talk about Pro Capture. And if you guys don't know what Pro Capture is, it's the coolest thing ever. You press your shutter button halfway and you're recording, you're buffering. And then when you press it all the way, you're going to get up to, on the EM1s, up to 35 shots of previously recorded shots. And then whatever you set in your menu, let's say you set 25, as you hold down that shutter, it'll take up to 25 more shots after you shoot. So basically you set that up to capture pre-recorded shots. So I've been using that with dragonflies and things of that nature, birds, and it's really cool because you see the action happen, then you take the shot and you got the action. Very, very cool feature.
Well, the other thing that I was just thinking of, Mike, is John Thomas was asking about settings for like why some of the shots might be blurry. If he's shooting in sequential high and he's doing the autofocus tracking, right? It's only going to hit the focus once. So if he shoots in low, the tracking is going to be better for that, right?
Yeah. You definitely low is going to have you stay with continuous. That's right. It'll only work with single on your high. It's only going to focus once.
And the other thing I'll do too, I just Mike Tieford just posted, Olympus website has preset info for birds in flight and lots more too. I just shared that link in the feed, and when we get towards the when I get towards the end of the broadcast here, I'll kind of pull up Scott Bourne's website and.
Yeah, did you share the Scott Bourne book as well, Justin?
Scott, the little pamphlet.
Yeah.
I
can put that link up too.
Yeah, I'll share that later. It's now when we share the screen, the pamphlet is actually, isn't that what we have at the store?
It's what you have at the store. That's right.
Yep.
It's just a PDF of that. Yep.
So if anyone wants that an actual printed version of that, you can just come to the store, and I've got some extras there that I can hand out. So what other good stuff is here in this?
We're talking about spot metering. We already talked about that. I'm going to get out of this in a second, to be honest.
I just wanted to
your continuous autofocus settings, Justin, we talked about. So your high and low in the menu, and that's under A1 in your gear menu. It just shows that, +2 is going to enhance your autofocus performance on moving subjects that can change direction. And then -2 is when there's something that passes in front. So think sports, soccer, the targeting pad. Okay. These are just the different autofocus setups and some, kind of examples of where you might use those. So really quick, you guys, I'll show a couple of samples. This is just a green heron, which I love, but I love having the rain in the background. Again, it started pouring out. I didn't, with the system, I don't care as long as it doesn't get on my lens, because I don't want it to show the fog or anything, but there's or moisture, but there's a shot in the rain. One of the things I wanted to mention, the reason I put these up, these were older shots, and these were birds that were right in front of us with handlers. So what I did was I took portraits so as not to show the the shackles and stuff. But what I want to show with this is that one of the things you want to try to do, or unless you're trying to get more of a landscape, is to try and get closer. So crop in on your image and try to get closer to that bird when you edit after. It's kind of more appealing towards when you're shooting birds, like for instance this one here, cropping in on it.
Are these the ones that pose, Mike?
What's that?
Are these the ones that pose for you?
Yeah. See, it's posing for me, man. That's a 300 millimeter with an EM12. It's right in front of me.
That's beautifully composed, man. It's just really nice. That branch coming out and just the way it's kind of stooped there, nice depth of field. It's really nice.
I don't know if you could see it, man, but there's a web underneath that branch. But I got the sharing thing on there. So.
I can. Yeah, it's a little hard to see, but we can.
It's there.
Yeah.
This is something I shot a couple months ago, and this is the heron. Bringing some stuff for the nest, and you can see the other heron sort of on the right in the bottom.
Yeah, it's hiding in the sticks.
Yeah, hiding in there. Yeah, it's cool. This was the other day, man. These are burrowing owls over here. So again, that 300 really compressed in that background.
I think you like that. You like to frame things up like that, Mike. I mean, if you look at that shot and you look at your crane, the white, was that a white?
Yeah, they're all the same, man. And this is that loggerhead shrike attacking that owl. Now this one I shot with low continuous, and it was 18 frames a second. So this is silent mode.
I love seeing
I got a bunch of these, man. He's hitting the owl. He's taking off. I mean, because I was shooting so fast. But I love the interaction on this one where the owl is looking at the bird. Most of the shots, his eyes are closed. So I think these birds, they have nests near me, and they're really wicked. These loggerheads, they kill everything, man. They kill other birds. They kill lizards. And so this one was attacking the owl because I think they just wanted away from their nests. Pretty cool. That's that bird.
Oh, and that was just that chance shot, is what you're talking about. Chance shot.
Right? I got a little opossum or something that's carrying.
That's great.
Yeah, that was with my hand. I had the phone in my ear. I pull up the camera. I take some shots. I watch this thing grab it out of the bush. I can't get this bird again. I got shots of it, but they're not like this.
Who cares? You got this shot. You don't need any others.
This is aperture priority. Just pulling the camera up and shooting.
Are those wings blue? Is that what I'm seeing? Are they kind of like a blue tint?
They're like a blue, but they're like it's like a grayish blue, but it's
like
dark.
A cadet blue or something like that.
It's a really cool bird, man. Really cool bird. And that's one of those shrikes. See that lizard on the agave? It sliced it right through the spike.
Huh.
See that, man? Wild, huh?
It is wild.
Yeah. This is pro capture. So this is an older shot. Again, that he didn't get any fish, but he was going down for a fish. And with pro capture, I could capture that, after. So same thing with this. See the mosquito next to his head, Justin?
To the bottom right, a little bit. Yeah, I can see that.
But that's just some of the shots. So I'll get out of this. I know we're running out of time here, so
I think it's good stuff. I will go ahead and quickly share my screens here. I'll add this to the stream. Now this is
here we go. Some good stuff now.
Boards. Is it scrolling for you guys?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to quickly, if you guys are on Flickr, flickr.com/photos/ScottBourne / and I think those are / I think that's what it is. And it's going to be a mix of some of his other stuff here, but
Justin, not to jump in, but John said he's shooting in low, so he's shooting in low continuous. So
yeah,
we'll have to play, John. I wish I could come out shoot with you. I kind of miss doing that. So
we got a social distance right now.
I know. I know.
Yeah,
We'll
look
have to
at
play a
this.
little bit.
That is just wild.
That is awesome, isn't it? Now
Yeah,
Scott's been playing with some cool stuff lately too, where he's playing
look
with
at look at
painting
that.
the background. So
Yeah,
if you
I
look
saw
at it,
that.
he's working with these sort of mix of painting and photo. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, he's doing. I want to see one that was
That's
really.
not.
It's really nicely done. Like this one right here.
Yeah.
It looks like the bird.
It was a cold morning.
Yeah, it's just, but he's doing the painterly effect with it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, look at the detail.
yeah,
Talk about like if anyone's worried about not having detail on an Olympus camera, that's crazy. That was
yeah.
some great. Let's see. Um, oh, let's do this one's nice. So
Yeah, it's
yeah,
wild, isn't it?
yeah. Flickr changed the way they zoom in on stuff. This is nice. Doing a silhouette.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
yeah. He's an artist, man. I mean, he really is. He's got that eye, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I know he licenses a lot of the eagle shots and bird shots, but um,
Yeah, he
it's
has
just
been doing
beautiful
a lot of
work, man.
painterly type
Yeah,
shots.
it's what he's been working on lately, and it's really cool. He's really nailing some cool stuff, man.
Oh, here's a titmouse. This is cool. This guy right here. It's a little bit of a smaller image, but
Yeah.
it's a cool shot. I'm gonna share another.
Brad, they call Scott the Eagle Whisperer. He is most of the things you see in the world that have eagles in them are probably one of his shots. He's been doing it for a long time, probably about 45 years. Um, so,
This
Swarovski,
is
Goodyear. He's an amazing photographer
if
and
you guys
artist.
go to the Get Olympus tab that I shared in the comment section here.
Hmm.
I simply typed in Get Olympus bird photography tips, and it'll bring up the link. But this is what you'll see with that is the Olympus Guide to Shooting.
Yep.
This is going to be for anyone, and well, look at who we got right here.
And the thing is, you guys, when you look at the tips and stuff from Scott, just remember they're tips. I mean, what works for one person may not work for everybody else. So it's sort of a good starting point. It's a good place to start and then sort of see what works for you, but it's always good to have a starting point. And that's what I feel this gives you is some great tips and good starting point to work with your style.
Yeah, these are all great tips.
Yeah.
So check that out, and then I'll share another one here since I gotta keep on, I think, flipping in and out of things. The birding guide PDF. This is what I have at the store. So this is, again, it's
Yep.
probably a lot of the same stuff that you saw at getolympus.com. It's just in a printed form. So it'll go over like what cameras,
Yep.
the features, size comparison. You'll never miss a shot. Some of the technologies that they're using, how to kind of set the settings in the camera.
And this was from a couple years ago now, so it's EM1.2 based, but it still holds true with the
With the
cameras.
EM1 Mark III.
And this works with any camera. It's not just Olympus. I mean, you translate it to a Canon or a Nikon or a Sony, and it's the tips are still they hold true to your system. So.
And the last thing for anyone who's interested, I'll do one last screen share here. I think I can open this up. It's just kind of the updates on the cameras right now. So some of the monthly specials.
Yeah, we got some great specials going on right now.
So if you're looking for like the EM1 Mark III body, if you wanted to upgrade to the EM1 Mark III, that is where is that guy? It's up at the top right here, body only. It's $15.99. So that's the first time they've had it on rebate since it's been released.
Yep.
The EM1X is cheaper. It's $23.99 instead of $24.99. You've also got one of the really great combos is the EM1 Mark III with the 12-100 Pro lens. That's $26.99.
It's a great combo.
That's an awesome combination.
It's really all you need for your all around.
The EM1 II has the 12-200 for $16.99. That's a good deal. And then if you wanted to do something like the EM5 Mark III with the 40 to 150 is $13.99. So that's even less than what it was initially from its initial release. I think it was $14.99 on sale. So it's $100. And I will try to pull up one more. I'm going to switch.
With the lenses?
Yeah, I'm going to pull up the lenses here.
Brad, yes, it's Scott Bourne, like the Bourne Identity. Bourne. You got it.
So I'm going to add one more screen here. Chrome tab and lenses. There we go. And so this is the lenses. So the ones that would be focused on for birding, the 4150 is $13.49 right now. The 300 is $27.49, so they've got $150 off on those. And then are the teleconverters? Yep, the teleconverters are on special too, so that's really nice. Those are $50 off, so $299 and $379.
Yep.
So those are kind of the things that Olympus is running, and even though we may
75 to 300.
Oh yeah, that was on there too. Let me. I need to go back in so I can scroll. 75 to 300.
I'm looking for it.
There we go.
Yeah, it's 150 off. Yeah, $399.
$399, which is that's a really good buy.
It's a great price, especially if you have like an EM52 or EM12, and it's a great combo. Yeah.
So those are something that the camera shop is open for curbside service. We can do. I'm taking calls between 10 and 4 Monday through Friday. And I typically tell people if you're going to call to pick something up to, call me before 3:30 because I might have to take care of something last minute. So you just want to kind of play it safe that way. But yeah, all those are in stock for the most part. If we can't get it, if we can't get it right away, we can always special order it. If our sister store has it, we can get it in at least a day for you. So those are really aggressive prices for May, Mike. I mean, I know between last month and the month before, they're really being aggressive with a lot of these price points on not just
the
cameras.
It's definitely a tough time for a lot of people. So it's but if you're in the market,
it's in the market for a camera.
There's definitely some good prices for sure. Yeah. So
and we've got. Go ahead.
I was going to say. So in the meantime, the tips and the shooting is definitely a good time to practice, and that's why we're doing this. So
yeah. It's just to encourage people to get out there and pursue their creativity and everything that we love in photography. And before we go, I mean, I know we kind of go over sometimes a little bit, but it's we're up to an hour. If there's any lingering questions, guys, this is it. This is your chance. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Mike and I will try to answer quick.
Otherwise, thanks for coming again. Thanks for spending some time with us. And I know I talked a lot, and I know the PowerPoint takes up a lot. And but hopefully, there's some tips in there that you guys can use. And it was a good discussion. And we do appreciate the support and you guys coming on. So, and then next week, Justin, next week I'll be actually on vacation. So
yes. So to kind of tee that up, Mike will not be doing this next week, and I'm not going to try to interfere because we're going to have Barrett from Sony. Sorry, Barrett from Sony is going to do a online course that's on Sony. So not that I want to, kind of muddy the Olympus feed with the Sony stuff, but he will be kind of filling that spot, and I don't want to steal any thunder from that. So if anyone wants to do that, we have the information on our events tab on our Facebook page, and you can sign up for that, and it's 100% free for you guys to attend that if you guys are Sony shooters and you're tuning into this. Because I know there's a lot of Olympus shooters out there, Mike, who have both Sony and Olympus.
Sure.
So they're divesting their interest there. So, yeah.
So the following week, I'll be on vacation as well, but I may actually come in and join you again.
Okay.
Just to throw it out there, I do have a landscape class I've put together.
Okay.
If you want to maybe go through, it's a PowerPoint and we could talk through.
Yeah, I think that would be.
But if you guys want, we can do a little landscape. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. So 2 weeks out, we just kind of, if we can steal you away from vacation for an hour, we can do the same thing in 2 weeks. And landscape is right up my alley, and I like to do that. So yeah, we'll get that on the books.
Cool.
And just remember, guys, that there's a lot of great prices on Olympus gear right now. So if you're looking for something, just give us a call, 231-733-1286, or send a Facebook message to the store or sales@camerashopmuskegon.com. That's how you can get a hold of us. And
right.
real
Thanks,
quick,
you guys.
Brad is asking that tripod-looking device. That'll work great for sports action camera captures too. Yes, the gimbal head is good for any of those big lenses, like the 70 to 200, 2.8, 150 to 600, 200 to 500.
Yeah, they're amazing, Brad. They're like
Yeah.
very fluid, and you move nice and fast up and down. I mean, they're really, really cool. You should come check one out. So
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks, Justin. Thanks,
Yeah,
everybody.
No, thanks, Mike, and I hope you enjoy vacation. With
I'll be sharing some of it with you in a couple weeks.
Well, yeah, we'll get to see how you're doing in 2 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, guys. Thanks for coming out tonight. We'll see you guys soon. And if there's anything, just reach out to the camera shop. In the meantime, stay safe, get out there, be creative, and have fun. We hope you guys have a great evening and a good weekend.
Thanks, everybody.